You have about 2 seconds. That's it. 2 seconds before a person decides whether what you're about to say is worth their attention or whether they scroll right past you. And here's the uncomfortable part. It doesn't matter how true the thing is. It doesn't matter how much it could help them. If those first 2 seconds don't land, no one ever hears the rest. This is the world your message is walking into, a feed that never ends, a thumb that never stops. We like to think the problem is that people don't care about the truth, but often the problem is smaller and more fixable than that. The truth was there, it just never got past the first 2 seconds. There's a framework creators use to stop that scroll. 4 letters: hook, explain, illustrate, and teach. And here's what nobody tells you. None of it is new. The most arresting communicator who ever lived used every one of these moves 2,000 years ago on a hillside with no camera and no feed. Let me show you. When the crowds gathered, he didn't open with a doctrine. He opened with a question or a picture or a story that stopped them cold. The craft of capturing attention is not the enemy of the message. Used rightly, it is how the message gets through the door. H, the hook. You have those 2 seconds, so the first line has to earn the second one. There are 3 kinds that tend to work. The first is the context hook. You tell them plainly what they're about to learn. Clear, no games. The second is the contrarian hook. You say something most people don't expect. But here's the line to hold on to. Be arresting with what is true, not with what merely shocks. The goal was never to provoke. It was to wake someone up. The third is the intrigue hook. You open a loop the mind needs to close. And if you want the masterclass, listen to how Scripture itself opens. In the beginning, you have heard that it was said, but I say to you. Arresting every time, and always in service of the truth that followed. E, explain. Once you have their attention, name the problem, and then show them it runs deeper than they thought. Not to manipulate, to be honest. Most of us are carrying something heavier than we've admitted, and a good teacher doesn't flinch from naming it. You're posting, you're working, you're pouring yourself out, and it feels like nothing's getting through. When you name the real ache, the room goes quiet. Now they're not being sold to, they're being seen. And a person who feels seen will stay for the answer. I, illustrate. This is where most people lose the room and where the best teacher who ever lived built his whole method. Here's the move. You take something they already know and you use it to show them something they don't. A farmer scattering seed, a coin lost under the floor, a son walking home. He never handed people a lecture. He handed them a picture they couldn't put down. And somewhere in the middle of it, they stopped hearing a story about someone else and realized they were hearing a story about themselves. That's the whole thing. The moment a person sees their own face in what you're saying, you don't have their attention anymore. You have their heart. That flicker of recognition, wait, that's me, is the most powerful second in anything you'll ever make. You can't fake it. You can only earn it with a story true enough to hold a mirror up. T, teach. And this one is almost a relief. After the hook, the tension, the story, you give them one thing. 1. We're tempted to give 5 things, 7 steps, 10 hacks. But when you hand someone everything, they walk away holding nothing. 1 clear takeaway. 1 next step they can actually take this week. That's how a message becomes an action, and an action becomes a changed life. Hook, explain, illustrate, teach. 4 moves, a way to make sure the thing you carry actually reaches the person it's meant for. Now, I have to be honest about where this framework comes from and where it can quietly lead you. The world that built these tools says something underneath them. It says, the less you care about being liked, the more magnetic you become. Chase the reaction, chase the number. And here's the strange thing. The technique is good, the craft is good, but the engine underneath it matters more than the craft. Because you can use every one of these moves to point 1,000 people at yourself or to point them past you to the one worth their attention in the first place. Same garden, different gardener, the hook, the story, the single clear word. Those are good seeds. The only question is what you're growing them toward. Attention is not the harvest. Attention is borrowed light. Spend it on what lasts. 1 million people who scroll past in a second, and 1 person who stops and is never quite the same. Don't build for the first number, build for the second one. At Nori Media Group, this is the whole reason we do what we do. You've been given something true to say. We just want to help you say it in a way people will actually receive without ever bending the truth to win the room. Learn the craft, master the hook, the story, the single clear word, and then aim all of it at something that outlasts the feed. If you're a creator, a teacher, a pastor with a message to carry, this is exactly the kind of work we help with. Everything we build is at Faith in Flame. That's faithinflame.com. And before you go, do one thing. In the comments, write the hook you'd use for your message. The true one, the one worth 2 seconds of someone's life. I'd love to see what you'd say.